Welcome to the second session on solving the CBSE NET Psychology paper for June 2015. We would be continuing with paper 3, the next 15 set of questions. Now the first question in this set is about assertion and reason. Now it's very important to understand whenever we are solving any assertion reason question, the primary thing we need to understand is whether we have to check out whether the individual statements that are given are correct or not. Choosing between 1 and 2 would be our second criteria. Okay. So first let's find out individually whether both the statements are correct or not. So method of loci helps keeping memories intact and retrievable. Now let's understand what is a method of loci. Method of loci talks about using locations as of a familiar place or a location which with you are familiar to, and based on that you are trying to retrieve certain information. So for example, if I want to find something in my house, or I want to do a quick shopping and I want to see what all things I require in my house, what I would do is I would have a mental framework. Okay, let me start with kitchen, then I go to the dining room, then I will go to the living room, and finally to the bedroom, and see what all things I require for the household shopping. That means I am trying to follow a idea of location or familiarity to the location, and that would help me keep my memories intact and retrievable. So that's correct. Then familiar loci already organized in a long-term memories. That's again correct, because since you have a familiarity with the location, you would quickly recall what is missing in this area or what you need for this region. That means you have a familiar loci, and this explains that we need to how method of loci helps us keep our memories intact and retrievable. So both assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation for assertion. So the correct answer here would be choice A. Next question. Which of the following biasness play important role in stereotype and prejudice? There are two basic biasness that we talk about in stereotyping and prejudice. One is correspondence biasness and other is illusionary correlation. So correspondence biasness talks about that you have a predisposed setup about certain things in your mind, and you try to underestimate the information that is observed. So basically, if I have a certain mind frame for a certain set of people, any person who would come from that sect, I would have a predisposition in my mind about that person, but in reality that might not be true. So that's just my biasness that every person who is from this sect might behave in a certain way. On the other hand, you have illusionary correlation. Illusionary correlation means making erroneous or false relationship between two events. So for example, I have two events. Every full moon, I see that my plants in my balcony are kind of declining or are not booming properly. So that's a kind of illusionary correlation. I have seen that once or twice, but the third time that happens, I would have a preset in my mind because I have talked about a false correlationship or a false relationship that exists between two events. So that's what is illusionary correlation. So the correct answer here would be 2. Next question. Which of the glands secrete steroids that are released by gonads? Now adrenal cortex releases 3 basic steroidal hormones or releases. First is glucocorticoids, you have mineralocorticoids, and you have gonadal hormones. Now mineralocorticoids talk about excess of sodium and removal of it retains sodium and excretes potassium. So it retains sodium and excretes potassium, and this is aldosterone. That's the common steroid that is being used here. So adrenal cortex is a kind of indispensable for life, and the correct answer here would be 3. Next question. Scientific management principle by Taylor. Scientific management principle by Taylor talks about few basic important things. First is the wage differential pay, or we also call it wage incentive pay. That means besides the salary of every employee, there should be some incentive or differences in the pay that would enhance the performance. So management of incentives has a great value is correct. He talked about employees mostly want high wages or salary, that's again correct. And the interest of employer and employees are the same, that's also correct. The only incorrect assumption, which of the following is not a correct assumption, so the correct answer here would be 3. Employer wants a low labor cost. He is not trying to maximize his productivity. So what he is trying to do here is maximize the efficiency of the worker, promote incentives, provide incentives, and develop a wage plan so as to promote best out of a worker. So the incorrect answer here would be 3. Now ABX theory of dyadic attraction was given by Newcomb. He talked about 3 elements which he considered as A, B and X. So he talked about mutual relationship between A and B, and both of them depend on X. So X is considered as a topic. A and B are senders and receiver of information. So suppose this is the sender and this is the receiver, and both of them rely on the topic. So that was a theory that was given by Newcomb, traditionally known as ABX theory. The statement normalcy and abnormalcy differ in degree not in kind represents dash of abnormalcy. That means now this theory, if we try to understand the statement per se, I can say that normalcy and abnormalcy differ in degree not in kind. That means I am trying to understand a statistical criteria, but when I am saying it represents, so it represents only the deviance, deviance of abnormalcy, because if I consider this as normal, anything on the extremes would be abnormal. So I can consider this as abnormal, and this also is abnormal, but since it would be kind of high IQ, I can say it is a kind of superior, but again it is a kind of abnormality, I should say. So this is deviating in degree. So that's what the question asks. It differs in degree, not in kind, and therefore the answer would be deviance criteria. Next question. Signal detection theory depends on. Signal detection theory technically depends on 2 very fundamental things. One is the intensity of the stimuli and the psychological state. So if I say intensity of stimuli, I can say how loud the noise was. If I talk about psychological state, it deals with me per se or my internal behavior. How do I perceive that noise? And besides this, physical energy is again one of the things on which the stimuli depends. So the correct answer here would be physical energy, internal factors like cost in some cases, or benefits with detecting their presence. So all these, so A, B and D would be the correct answer in this case. Next, which of the following are sources of error in social cognition? Cognition means understanding, first of all. Now social cognition, how can you misunderstand something? I could say in simple words. So there can be thought suppression, that means I am preventing some specific thoughts to enter my consciousness, and I am trying to suppress those thoughts. So that's thought suppression. Then magical thinking, I am believing in some kind of irrational assumptions. That is magical thinking. That's again a kind of error in social cognition, because I have some irrational assumptions in my mind based on which I am changing my perception towards something. So that is one important element. Then you have thought suppression and you have counterfactual thinking. So what does counterfactual thinking means? Counterfactual thinking simply implies that when you are trying to imagine other outcome besides that which exists. So for example, if I am giving an exam, there can be an outcome of fail or pass, okay? But besides that, I am trying to think about some other weird outcome. Might be the paper might get leaked. So that's a kind of counterfactual thinking. So that is an error in social cognition. So the correct answer would be A, B and C. That is 2. Next question. You have to match the terms with the definition. So it's a kind of very direct question that has been asked. If you are thorough with the definitions of the types of learning, you can answer this question. So avoidance learning, you typically tend to avoid a aversive stimulus. So that's the correct match. In case of escape learning, you try to escape the stimuli or you try to terminate the stimuli. So I should say this would be the correct option. Learning a response to terminate the aversive stimuli would be escape learning. What is cognitive learning? Under cognitive learning, so cognitive is understanding or a way of thinking. So cognitive implies a change in the way of processing information as a result of my experiences. And finally, latent learning implies or occurs when the learning is not evident in the behavior until a later point of time. So that is what is latent learning. So these are the correct matches. So D for 4. So D for 4. That's the only choice. The correct answer would be 2. This is a very, very interesting question that has been asked. Now before we try to solve this question, let's first understand the meaning of the terms given here. You have certain phrases given in the box. The boy hit the ball over the fence. What is asked in the question is, what does this depict? Constituents means elements. So these are not elements because I can say this is a whole phrase. Then you have morphemes. Morphemes are simple words like tall, dog, short. But here there is a set of words again. Underlying representation is a kind of thing that is required during pronunciation. So for example, I can say cat, but when I pronounce it, it can be K-E-T, so cat. So C being pronounced as K. So that's an underlying representation which is not obvious here. So that is underlying representation. Now what is linguistic universals? Linguistic universals hold true in a statement. So be it any language that I am using, I would have a set that denotes something for boy. Even if I want to draw it in symbols or I want to write it in Chinese or Japanese or any other language, I would have a set of representation that would denote boy, a set of representation that would denote ball, and a phrase or a set of symbols or something that would denote hit over the fence. So that is what is known as linguistic universals, and the correct answer here would be 2, that is linguistic universals. Next question. Creativity is considered to be grounded in right hemisphere because, now you have the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. This is the right hemisphere, this is the left hemisphere. Left hemisphere deals with things that are logical, sequential, analytical in nature, which are rational. Right hemisphere deals with things which are creative, which require much more of divergent thinking and which is artistic in nature. Again, what we talk about in right hemisphere is a global perspective or parallel perspective. So for example, if I say I went to a forest ride and I saw the forest, then I am not explaining that I am seeing each and every tree of the forest, rather I am saying that I am seeing the forest as a whole. So I am having a global picture or a parallel picture in my mind, or a holistic view, and that comes from the right hemisphere of the brain. So this is the correct option here. Then left hemisphere specializes in sequential, analytical and logical things. That's again correct. And creativity involves divergent thinking. That is the function of right hemisphere, which is again correct. So A, B and D would be the correct choices. So first would be the answer here. Next, you have two statements. Now before we try to solve these statements, let's first talk about and move on to the theories of sleep. So when I talk about theories of sleep, I basically talk about two basic theories. First is the recurpation theory and the next is circadian theory. So circadian, as the name suggests, talks about our biological clock. So this theory deals with the biological clock. The next is recurpation theory. Recurpation theory talks about that sleep is required to restore the imbalance, and that imbalance or disruption in the homeostasis is caused because we are awake. So when we are awake, there is imbalance in the system, which is imbalance of the homeostasis or disruption of the homeostasis. So that's correct. That is one of the basic things that we talk about in recurpation theory. And because of that, what is required is sleep, and sleep tries to restore it. And sleep is terminated by return of homeostasis. So once our balance is returned, the sleep is ended. So both of the statements are individually correct, but this statement is not the cause for disruption of the homeostasis during the awake cycle. So this talks about the sleep-awake cycle and specifically the two theories of sleep. So both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation for assertion. Next question. This question again talks about what we have discussed in the previous question on right and left hemisphere, and right hemisphere dealing with creativity and divergent thinking. So here, which of the following is employed to assess creativity? The correct answer would be divergent thinking. Under divergent thinking, what can happen is, if I have a problem A, I can provide n number of multiple solutions to this problem, and that is what is divergent thinking. I am trying to think as many possible solutions for a given problem. Under convergent thinking, I try to merge out, or I try to say I can have only a single solution for a single problem. Abstract thinking is a very surface level thinking, and symbolic thinking is where you are trying to draw something or paint something. You are trying to use symbols or conventions to give your point of view. So the correct answer here would be divergent thinking. Next question. Which of the psychologists first empirically established social stress distorts physical health? Now Holmes and Rahe in 1967 started their theory and talked about social readjustment scale. Social readjustment, which was known as SRS scale. And under this social readjustment, they took up certain criteria and the impact on an individual, and the findings of their study revealed that there is a very high positive correlation between stress and health. So stress or social stress breaks down your health, and that was having a very high positive correlation under the study done by Holmes and Rahe. Later on, Lazarus and Folkman extended and modified the study which was done by Holmes and Rahe under the SRRS, and they did it in around 1984 or 87, around that time frame. Selye was the first person who talked about stress, and he gave the general adaptation syndrome, while Srivastav and Pestonji talked about stress and the effect on health only in case of job or workplace. And that was again during 1890s. So the correct answer here would be Holmes and Rahel. Next, which of the following two styles of leadership were identified in Ohio State Leadership Study? Now, Ohio State Leadership Study was conducted in the state of Ohio in the United States in 1945. Under this, they talked about two basic things. First was people oriented and next was task oriented. This task oriented was considered as an initiating structure, while this people oriented was considered as a consideration. And based on these two, they talked about leader behavior and supervisor behavior descriptive questionnaire. So they called it leader behavior descriptive questionnaire and supervisor behavior descriptive questionnaire. So these were the two questionnaires that they tried to formulate, and it was based on people oriented. So that was one aspect, and other was task oriented or initiating structure. So I can say initiating structure. So 2 would be the correct answer. So with this, we cover the set of next 15 questions that were asked in the CBSE NET June 2015 paper 3 for psychology. We will be covering the further set of questions in the coming lectures. You can subscribe to Exam Race channel for any further updates. Till then, have a good day ahead.